This is the L2C Media Network, and this is the L2C Sports Final, brought to you by the L2C Media Network. And now here's our man, as you just heard the station manager. Here's Steve. Hola! How you doing, everybody? You want to flip that thing over? Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Welcome, one and all, to the Corsican Ball. As you can see on that end of the dais, there is our beloved station manager, our owner, my mom, Sharon Baxley. I am Steve Baxley, your congenial and almost lovable host. Tonight, we got a lot of news for you, including if you are a fan of Hockey Night in Canada, you are going to be pissed off. Why? There's a little history about to be made. It's history that our friends north of the border really don't like. We'll tell you all that and a whole lot more. But right now, kids, we welcome you. By the way, here in Jackson, it is 61. The high was 78. The low is 34. Oh, boy, this is the calm before the heat storm. Anyway, let's get on with it. Get you to the sports news. And Harry, we sort of screwed up, but at least we got it back on point here. Okay, the problem of Devonta Freeman continue. Devonta Freeman still remains on the free agent market, as no team is willing to take a chance on the running back at this moment. He may be a free agent in the training camp based on a recent turn of events. Freeman's agent, Kristen Campbell, notified her client that she terminated the relationship, this per Mike Silver of the NFL Network, leaving the former Pro Bowl running back with no representation as he still looks to find a new team. Now, the former agent negotiated the 5-year, $41.25 million extension with Freeman that made him the highest paid running back in the NFL in 2018, which certainly will hurt Freeman's demands regarding Hicks' contract. Seeking a $4 million deal for one season, Freeman reportedly threatened to sit out the 2020 season if no team wished to pay him that amount. Despite interest from other teams, the Seattle Seahawks passed on Freeman and signed Carlos Hyde to a one-year deal that was worth up to $2.75 million. The Tampa Bay Bucks have also reportedly showed interest in Freeman, which prompted the running back to say they can reach out to him directly. Now, Freeman's negligence to contact his agent, work out a deal, and trying to work out one himself may have contributed to the breakup, especially since those events happened as recently as a month ago. There are teams that could still use Freeman, Tampa Bay being one of them, but the running back may have to sign for a significantly less amount to ensure his future on an NFL roster in 2020. Freeman, a two-time Pro Bowl running back, hasn't recorded a 1,000-yard season since 2016 and has just 724 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns over the past 2 years. Injuries have slowed him down, contributing to his 3.66 yards per carry average. Freeman still was a threat, catching the football, recording 59 catches for 410 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2019. He may not get the deal he wants now that he has no reps, but still should be able to find team in training camp. The price and the weight may be delayed a little bit. Ooh, yes, sir. Coming up, And we got more good stuff. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay, let's get to it. So let's there we go. Now, of course, the big announcement we've all been waiting for came as Daniel Snyder decided to, say bye-bye to the Washington Redskins. But he may have a little problem trying to find a new name. Why? I'm glad you asked. The Washington Redskins announced Monday their intention to drop the long-held and moving forward with something that can only be described as to be determined right now. Washington initiated a comprehensive review of the situation roughly 10 days ago ahead of the holiday weekend, in large part because of financial pressure from various retailers, sponsors, and shareholders, and quickly made the decision to scrap all Native American imagery from their overall setup. Now, it makes sense. So, what will the next nickname and logo be? Well, Jared Dubin of CBS Sports created a list of possible new nicknames, but some of the names on that list, well, there's a problem. And it's called Trademark Squatters. They've decided to register for possible Washington nicknames. One big squatter is Martin McCauley, who registered trademarks for a whole bunch of different names relating to possible new nicknames for Washington. McCauley, an actuary for the Department of Energy in D.C., has been profiled by Will Hobson of the Washington Post. Squatting on trademarks is something he's passionate about doing. McCauley has spent more than $20,000 trying to lock up different names Washington could ultimately end up going with, from things like Bravehearts to Pandas. Recently, when Snyder announced the team's intention to make a change, McCauley added multiple new trademark registrations, including Red Wolves, Red Tails, Monuments, Veterans, Renegades, and more. The goal, presumably, is to either have the team pay McCauley a substantial sum for the trademark if he acquires it, or to simply go away by withdrawing his registration from the trademark office. Now, legally, there is a lot going on here. McCauley doesn't own these names, far from it. As Hobson pointed out in his profile, McCauley has to actively sell goods relating to the name in order to actually have a chance at securing the trademark, which might be why McCauley has thousands of dollars in fake football gear at his house for these various teams. He doesn't actually sell the items, but told Hobson his plans to get paid if Washington or the NFL needs to purchase the trademark. Now, it seems really unlikely given how trademark and patent law works, but given how many he's locked up, and given the timing of this change for Redskins, minimal amount of time ahead of the 2020 season if they do want to change before then, it's possible Washington might actually need to cough up some big-time coin if they plan using one of McCauley's nicknames. One guy who probably won't be getting paid, Raymond Lucci out of California, who recently registered a trademark for Washington Redskins, a name that no one thinks is actually getting consideration, but maybe it should. The Radskins. And maybe not. Maybe not. But, wow. Incredible day, and the incredibleness continues. The latest to test positive for the coronavirus. Russell Westbrook. That's right, Houston Rockets All-Star Russell Westbrook announced on Twitter Monday that he is tested positive for COVID-19 and quarantining at home. Westbrook, James Harden, and Luka Mbah, Amut, did not travel with the Rockets when the team left for Orlando to compete in the NBA's resumption plan, if there is one. Now, the Rockets held their first practice since a hiatus on Saturday without their star backcourt of Westbrook and Harden. And while head coach Mike D'Antoni didn't give specifics about their absence, he did say that he expected them to join the team in a few days. Westbrook's diagnosis makes it difficult for him. In order for him to rejoin his teammates, he'll need to test negative for the coronavirus twice per the NBA's health and safety protocols. When Westbrook arrives in Orlando, he'll then have to undergo the same 48-hour quarantine period that's required for all players within the bubble. Only then will he be able to participate in basketball games. Now, while Westbrook said in his statement that he's feeling well, it's unclear if he's exhibiting any symptoms of the virus. If he is, then it could be more than a few days before he's able to rejoin the Rockets at Disney World. The NBA season doesn't resume until July 30th, and the Rockets' first game isn't until July 31st against Dallas Mavericks. So Westbrook still has 2 weeks to fully recover and join his team at Disney World. Mm-hmm. All right, Nick Manis is in for Andre tonight with sports, and there was an amazing and now, well, for college basketball to be on time this year. Why? Stay tuned. Tell you all about that coming up. Plus, why Canadian broadcasting tradition is getting a lot of angry fans north of the border because it's not going to be a Canadian tradition. Tell you all about that coming up, but right now let's get to report. The National Junior College Athletic Association announced Monday that it will not conduct any close contact sports like football and basketball in the fall semester. Instead, the NJCAA's new plan is to start basketball season in January and football season in March. And though this isn't necessarily a sign of what's to come at the Division I level, it sure feels like it could be as COVID-1 cases continue to spike in a way that makes playing college sports in the U.S. anytime soon difficult, bordering on impossible. In short, it's not going good. The Big Ten and Pac-12 have already announced they will not play non-league football games this fall, and more power conferences are expected to do the same if they even play football at all in the fall, which is obviously in the question as well. Meanwhile, few people outside of college basketball are really focused on the game right now because college football is scheduled to start sooner. It's bigger, more profitable, and thus the priority. But almost nobody that CBSSports.com has spoken with connected to the sport in the past week believes college basketball will start on time. And the growing assumption among decision makers is that second semester conference-only schedules are a real possibility. Why? First and foremost, COVID-19 cases in many states are increasing in a way that they're either starting to stress hospitals or are on a trajectory to do so soon. And as SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey more or less said on radio Monday, don't expect to see college sports happening in the fall with an overwhelmed healthcare system. Beyond that, think about what compromises most power conferences programs. Non-league basketball or football schedules. Buy games. Example, games created when schools play other schools, come and play a single game, don't look like they're going to be worth playing in November and December because they're likely to be money losers that present unnecessary risk. Now, under normal circumstances, a school like Louisville might pay a school like Youngstown State $85,000 to visit the Yum Center. for a game. That game is made part of a season ticket package. Fans are asked to pay just as much for that game as they would for a game against Duke or Virginia. And Louisville makes lots and lots of money. That's why the Cardinals played seven buy-in games last season, because it's a great way to spend $85,000 to make hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, in return. But not if you can't sell tickets. Now, understand there's currently no reason to think arenas will be filled with fans in November and December, so these buy games are unlikely to be anything but money losers. And if they're money losers, what's the point in playing them, especially when power conference schools will have no control over or even any idea of the COVID-19 testing result protocols implemented by their opponents? That's also the other part of this dilemma. So the NJCAA's decision to push the start of basketball to the spring semester will not lead all Division I conferences to immediately do the same. It's like the Ivy League and Patriot League already announcing a similar plan. Yes, a similar plan did immediately become a trend that trickled up. But we can overstate how. Anyway, there you go. Good luck to them all. Okay. Excusez-moi. And who else tested positive in the bubble for the NBA in Florida, might we ask? We shall ask. Two players tested positive at the Orlando bubble. All 22 teams arrived at the NBA bubble last week to begin preps to resume the 2019-2020 season inside Disney World. Upon arrival, everyone was sent to their rooms, but they were to remain isolated until they returned to negative COVID-19 tests at least 24 hours apart. Now, on Monday afternoon, the league announced the results of the test, noting that 2 out of 322 players had tested positive. In addition, drinky drink. Okay, I'm going to douse this so I don't get any no things from CBS. So we're going to continue like this. 28 minutes past the hour of 11 o'clock. We started at 11:10, so we will end at, by God, we're going to end at 12 midnight? Yeah, 45 minutes. It's midnight. Okay. So here we go. Of the 322 players tested for COVID-19 since arriving on the NBA campus July 7th, 2 have returned confirmed positive tests while in quarantine. Those players never cleared quarantine and have since left campus to isolate at home or in an isolation housing. Since July 1st, during in-market testing, 19 NBA players newly tested positive. They're staying in their home markets and recovering until they're cleared under CDC guidelines and NBA rules for leaving home isolation and joining the campus. On the one hand, it's good that the numbers of positive tests inside the bubble were low. However, the fact that there were any at all is still somewhat worrisome. Those players who tested positive traveled with teammates, were on planes or buses with them for hours. Even if those players took all the proper precautions, it is certainly possible that the virus could have been passed along in transit. And if it was, we may not know for many days. Hopefully, the league's stringent testing protocols and health and safety standards will manage to test negative before leaving their home markets. So it will prevent it from growing, but the fact some players manage to test negative before leaving their home markets and positive upon arrival shows how tricky it is to fully contain the virus. Again, good luck to us all. Okay, it is 11:30. Let's take some time, if we can, on YouTube. And yes, friends, he is live, as live can be, midnight Eastern, 11 Central. And tonight, it's the reading of Ron and Monica's, I guess you could say, rebuttal to other filings. Nick Recato will be reading them as only Nick can. Rial and Toye reply brief on fees, a reading. It's all coming up tonight. Recato Law channel, only on YouTube. Lost Splaining the Interwebs, midnight in the East. Of course, 11 in the Central, 8, no, not 8, 9 in the Pacific time zones. Now, we bring you all that, and we've done all that, which is nice, don't you think? Yes, sir, it is nice. And I know we got a lot of more show here. We're in the 21-minute mark of this broadcast. Sorry if I'm not looking at the camera. I try to. But here we go. Before we do anything, we're going to try to find that little story. I wish I kept that. Okay. Do. Boom. Here we go. We do our best, folks. We do our best. Okay, let's keep going here. We're at 11:30. We've already did a couple of little things. As you know, folks, there's a grand tradition. Saturday night is hockey night in Canada. Show's been a staple for Canadian network, CBC, for over 60 plus years. Well, the history of that famed franchise grew even more when many moons ago, Rogers Media scored a 12-year deal for Canadian broadcasting rights to the National Hockey League, which also meant they now own the famed name Hockey Night in Canada. CBC still broadcasts the show, but they no longer are the producers. And now Rogers Media is out. And you're saying to yourself, wait, what? What are you talking about? You want to explain? Simple. Hockey Night in Canada, the story in the Toronto Sun, Hockey Night in Canada, to you for the very first time in illustrious history by Americans. NBC, which owns the broadcasting cable rights to the U.S., or for the U.S., will fly upwards of 50 broadcast people to Toronto, producers, directors, camera people, technicians, and more, to serve as the world feed for all National Hockey League games played in Toronto. While many Canadian broadcast freelancers, out of work since March, are not very happy about the snub. One long-time Canadian broadcast worker, who asked not to be identified for the obvious reasons, said, "It's a travesty. The NHL sold us out. Our own government sold us out. All we want to do is work, and this is our job. I could understand NBC bringing people in if we couldn't do the job, but it's proven we can," end quote. Canadian hockey broadcasters have long been considered the best in the world. Virtually every Winter Olympics world feed in recent memory have been produced and directed by a Canadian. The majority, if not at all, of the world feed staff at every Olympic hockey tournament of the past 25 years has been Canadian. NBC told one Canadian inquiring about a job that it was bringing only NBC staff to Toronto to work on the world feed and wouldn't consider anyone else. Under the strict conditions of COVID-19, only one broadcast crew, known as the world feed, will produce the pictures for all the networks around the world televising the games. Those networks include Rogers Sportsnet in Canada and NBC, the rights holder for NHL games in the U.S. Now, Sportsnet will produce the world feed for games played in the western hub city of Edmonton. But the Stanley Cup Final, slated for the Alberta city, will have both Canadian and American feeds for the individual rights holders. Sources say NBC was not happy with the NHL having two Canadian hub cities for its return to play. Apparently, NBC wanted an American hub city, but clearly the NHL acted in the best and more safest interest of the league. However, in doing so, it also kowtowed to the rights holder, NBC, and somehow pulled a fast one of sorts on the Canadian government. It was one thing for the federal government to allow NHL teams to enter Canadian cities under strict restrictions, breaking its own Canadian border laws in the process, but it was another for them to look the other way while the NHL somehow negotiated a way to somehow enable NBC to allow Americans to take jobs Canadians are clearly qualified to do. Said another disgruntled Canadian broadcast worker, quote, I think the federal government was sold a bill of goods by the NHL, end quote. On Monday at his daily press briefing, folks at Toronto Sun asked Premier Doug Ford about the snub, and clearly he was unsure about the circumstances. Said Ford, quote, to be very frank, I don't know who has the contract for the NHL or who has the contract for Monday Night Football or Major League Baseball. Ford is a lifelong sports fan, caught off guard by the question, then he found his legs. I hear you loud and clear and don't disagree, said Ford. I'll look into that. I don't usually get involved in the NHL's business. Well, he may be able to ask questions, but it's highly unlikely he'll be able to change a thing. This is more of a federal matter than a provincial one, but somehow the working lives of people who would like to get off CERB didn't seem of interest to the Canadian government. Work for freelance broadcast people has been basically non-existent since professional sports was shut down in early March. Normally at this time of year, many of the same people working NHL games in June would have also worked Raptors games, might be working the CFL games or baseball games. Were they being played in Toronto? The next NHL or NBA season is not expected to start until December. That would mean 8 months without work for freelancers. And with the federal government paying them CERB before now, caught looking the other way. I got to agree. NBC pulled a little muscle and left Rogers Sportsnet in the toilet, as it were. But we'll have to find out just how good NBC does. I have a feeling some shenanigans might be called into action. Of course, we'll see if there's going to be a strike in all this. If it is, that might put, again, the entire season, what's left of it, in jeopardy. But I think maybe Rogers should have been consulted. They are, of course, the Canadian rights holder to the National Hockey League. This is bad business. And, well, we'll just find out how NBC will handle the hockey situation. So stay tuned. Everything is going to be told very soon. as hockey returns. But, wow. What a way to go. We thank the Toronto Sun for their help with our story. Okay. Okay, let's keep going and going and going. Let's give you an update on Sky Blue versus the North Carolina in the NWSL. And, okay. Ugh. Getting close to Sleepy Blue time. Yes, yes, it is. Okay. The Courage close out preliminary play versus Sky Blue. And you can see that on CBS now. The preliminary round play at the NWSL Challenge Cup comes to a close tonight as tournament favorite North Carolina Courage take on Sky Blue FC. The Courage have won their first 3 games at the Chicago Cup, locking up the number 1 seed in the process. Sky Blue enters with 4 points, and either a draw or a win against North Carolina would give the team. Okay. Wow. So right now, what is the score? If we have any, it is 0-2, which is not bad if I do say so myself. Oh God. Oh, getting a little tired. That's where we are getting a little tighty whitey again. We're not gonna let this taint the menu and how we are doing on this broadcast. Sorry about that, folks. Getting a little yawn. Okay. Let's give you the latest in scoreboard scores. And we do so with no highlights or anything else. So, Oh. Sorry, folks. Okay. Excuse me. How did I ask? I just asked. Oh boy. Okay. We're getting the scoreboard ready, and we should be able to. There we are. Let's give you some soccer news and news from tonight's night, but at least I'll be sleeping good. There we go. Sorry about that. If I start knocking off, warn me and we'll black out the camera. I'm sorry, but well. All right. Let's take you through the world of soccer. We start with the Premier League. Manchester United and Southampton ended in a 2-2 tie. Italy Serie A, Inter defeated Torino 3-1. In La Liga Española, it was Alves and Getafe tied at 0. Villarreal losing to Real Sociedad 2-1. Real Madrid beating Granada 2-1. Denmark Superliga regulation playoff. It was Lingley by 1 over Hobro 2-1. In the club friendlies, Puck lost to SAC 1914 4-0. Rohrbach over Bad Voslau 5-0. Red Beograd and Zlabor Katina tied at 0. Or excuse me, it was Rohrbach 5, Bad Voslau 0. Zlatibor Kachetina and Red Belgrade had zeros as well. Prepare over Frydek Mystic 4-2. We have a good say between Okay. Let's keep going here. Okay, thank you guys for the update. Let's see. Baltica 4, Saturn Remenskoye 2. Another Baltica was a Baltica day. Baltica over Dalgopurskini 1-0. Miadost and Sabaga 3-3 tie, as did Chaka and Elena Vladivoskas. All right, let's damn. I'm going to finish this before it kills me, and it just might. Let's see. Rednick and Nova Pazar was postponed. Friedrich Mystic lost to Prepare 4-2. Pro Letter and Slogo Prozeg tied at 2. Okay. Okay, why don't we just say, if you want the club-friendly scores, go to scoreboard.com/English. I am about ready to get zonked. In South Korea baseball, it was Kia Tigers 13, Kiwoom Heroes 3. The SK Wyvern lost to the Hanwha Eagles 4-2. 4-9-1 for Eagles, 2-3-0 for Wyverns. Tigers 13-3, and we got this one. There we go. Okay. Hanwha defeated SK Wyverns 4-2, 4-9-1 for the Eagles, 2-3-0 for Wyvern. Kia Tigers over the Kiwoom Heroes 13-3, 13-16-0 for the Kia Tigers. And 3-4-1. Okay. I think we've already done all that. So, I am getting a little sleepy. So I'm going to end it a little early tonight. So I am going to get into bed and get into a better sleep mode. So we will see you tomorrow night at 11:10 p.m. Eastern. I'm Steve, the Baxman Baxley. This has been a presentation of Mystifying Creativity Productions in association with the L2C Media Network and L2C Sports. For everyone who's a part of the sports show here, I'm Steve the Baxman Baxley, or as I'm known probably to one and all, Sleeping Beauty, saying good night. And no matter what team you root for in life, may they always be winners. Good night, America, wherever and whomever you are. Can somebody get me a no dose? Because I hate it when I do that. But we do have to go, so we're going to say good night. And everything will be on tomorrow. If we forgot a sport to cover, we'll cover it for a thing that we like to call sports leftovers. So we'll see you then. Enjoy Lost Playing the Interwebs on the Rakia Law channel. We'll see you tomorrow night. Don't forget Sports Central USA. I think 1:30. See you. Good night.